Okay, so let's make sure the video's running. Oh boy, I've got something special for you today. Oh, it's something really cool. I've been teasing I've been teasing some special Halloween figures towards the end of the month, and I've got one more Halloween figure that's really cool that I'm going to be opening up tomorrow, but I'm not ready to tell you what it is yet. If you want to make sure that you see it, make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment and let me know what you think about this video. And if you manage to catch me live in the chat, chat with me live in the chat. All right. So everybody knows my favorite character is Batman. It's one of the most well-known facts about me. Like if you're somebody who knows me in real life, you probably know this. It's an obvious thing. And I promised you guys, I promised you that I would have a figure of Batman as part of my Halloween theme. And I had something special in mind, and I picked him up a few weeks ago. I actually picked this one and the other super special action figure that I will be opening on Halloween Day. I actually picked both of those up at the same time because Target was having a deal where if you bought like I think it was like $60 worth of toys, then you'd get like an extra $10 off. And I already had a $10 off coupon through the Target app, so I basically got this guy for free, pretty much. And it's Batman, but it's not just any version of Batman. This is the Ben Cooper Batman action figure with costume and mask, and he looks a little short, a little disproportionate. That's because this is not really Batman. This is a kid dressed up as Batman to do some trick-or-treating. So it is for me though one of my personally most important designs of Batman's costume, because while it's not accurate to the comic book in a lot of ways, this is the first Batman costume that I ever wore when I was a small child, and picked this one out among the Ben Cooper Halloween costumes. The earliest ones I can remember wearing, and I must have wore like two different costumes on two different occasions, is this one and Ben Cooper's Chewbacca costume, the first version of Chewbacca. They had a few versions of Chewbacca, I think. But I must have worn them on different occasions, different parties, because I definitely remember wearing both of these. But yeah, I've worn a lot of Batman costumes over the years. I've been to Dragon Con and things like that. And I've worn like, movie quality Michael Keaton costumes. And I've worn Adam West type spandex Batman costumes. I've worn a few of them. But the very first one ever was the one that Ben Cooper made. And man, if you're a kid my age, a former kid my age, I'm still a kid at heart, obviously. but yeah, for people that grew up in the same time as me, you remember these Ben Cooper costumes, and Collegeville, who was kind of like the Burger King to Ben Cooper's McDonald's. But while Collegeville got a lot of good licenses themselves, like the lion's share of the good ones seemed to go to Ben Cooper. They had not just DC superheroes, but Marvel superheroes. Hey, Neca, see if you can talk Hasbro into letting you borrow the Marvel license so you can do Spider-Man. That's another one I had when I was a kid. They do Spider-Man, Captain America, the Hulk. They had a lot of great characters that they did that time. And they had the license to DC. DC was the first license they had because the first costume that they produced, the first superhero costume that they produced, was Superman during the time of the George Reeves television series in the 1950s. They had a Spider-Man character that they did in the 50s before Marvel Comics had their own Spider-Man, and wound up licensing Marvel's Spider-Man from them. But yeah, the design of this box is very similar to, but not identical to, but it's I think as close as they could probably get it, probably licensing reasons. but very close to the box that I remember the Ben Cooper costumes coming in, which was the one that they put out in the 1970s. So obviously, this guy is meant to appeal to the Generation X action figure collectors. I'm on the young side of Generation X, or on the older side of millennials, however you look at it. But I kind of feel like I have elements of both in my personality, to be honest. Now, baby boomers would remember an earlier box. This Batman costume was first produced in the 1960s to cash in on the popularity of the ABC Batman television series starring Adam West, and went through various changes and evolutions at the time. They even did a fabric version of it, which was a play suit, but the one I had was vinyl. And this suit it seems based on the play suit version by having those long sleeves, but the play suit version, like I said, was fabric, and I'm pretty sure the vinyl version was always sleeveless. I could be mistaken about that. And I don't know how it was in the 1960s, but I know at least by the 1970s, they'd given the gray bodysuit a little bit of a metallic sheen, not particularly shiny silver, but almost like a gunmetal kind of color. To me, the color reminded me of duct tape. It's kind of that sort of slightly metallic, dark gray, like duct tape is colored. Maybe the intention was that when kids would inevitably tear their bat suit, Dad could repair it with some duct tape, and it wouldn't be as obvious. I don't know, but yeah, they did take great pains to replicate the look of the original action figure box. Batman would have just been stamped on there because they use the same box for everything and just kind of stamped the names of the characters on there. You can see at the top it says Batman, size 5.5 inches, NECA. That's where they would have had the child's size, like what size the suit was going to wear. And I think that they had like the girl characters on here as well, but I think Batgirl and Wonder Woman, those are the other two female characters in this line. I think that they both appear on the girl boxes, but I don't know for certain. You can see this one just has Superman and Batman. Superman, of course, is illustrated by Kurt Swan, the greatest Superman artist, in my opinion. I believe that is a Swan Anderson piece. It might even be one that Anderson did himself, and just kind of, since he was such a, the definitive inker of Kurt Swan, he might have been good enough just to draw that himself. But you saw it on a lot of merchandise at the time. And Batman it looks very much in the mold of Carmine Infantino's version, which was not really being used in the comic books by that time. Batman had kind of evolved into the more the Neil Adams. I'm mixing up my Adamses, but Neil Adams had kind of redesigned Batman a little bit, made him a little more dark, a little more edgy, brought him back to how he was in 1939, basically was his intention, but put his own flair onto it. And most artists drawing the Batman comics were kind of more in the mold of Neil Adams by that time than Carmine Infantino, but it was still a well-known enough style of Batman that it us kids in the 70s and 80s, we were still pretty used to seeing that on a lot of merchandise. Even with the scale of this thing, you can see the UPC code on here is really tiny. Like, look at it next to my fingertip. You don't usually see a UPC code that tiny, but it's in proportion to the old Halloween costume box. So these Halloween costumes, they had this window in the middle, and that's where you'd see the mask just would take up the whole thing. The boxes were a little more squat than what you see here. So really, you just look at the box and you see the mask, and the box, it wasn't taped shut at the stores. So you could open it up, take out the costume, look at it, even, try it on, just to make sure it fit. So, but yeah, I'm going to have a lot of fun opening this guy up. Like I said, to me, this is like, on a nostalgic level, one of my favorite versions of Batman. And it's got some goofy sort of elements to it. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about all of that. So let me go ahead and get them open. And I want to do my best to get it open without messing up this box, because my intention is I would like to keep the figure in the box. Now, obviously, I want to open it up for for you fine people out there in the audience, friends of the channel, so you can see me open this thing up. I think, like, that's going to be a lot of fun for all of us. And plus, I want to cut this rubber tab. I don't feel comfortable with this rubber tab across this vinyl suit like that. I kind of feel like that's going to cause some chemical reaction after a while, and I just do not want to have that at all. So even if I weren't planning on taking this out of the package at even a little bit, I want to get rid of that. So let's go ahead and get that. And it's a double rubber tab, and it's very wide. And there, I've got it out of there, and it's got like a silica gel piece in there, which I suppose would help if you're going to keep this figure in its box. That would help keep the vinyl from disintegrating, which is one thing I don't like about vinyl outfits on characters like this, is that, eventually it does, they do kind of tend to disintegrate. And I would much rather not have that be the case. So here is our Batman out of the package, and we can see that he's got brown and white sneakers, much as a kid at the time would have. A kid might have like some blue Chuck Taylors, some Converse or something like that. But usually you were just going to wear whatever shoes you normally wore with the outfit. We didn't put too much thought into that. And like I said, my Batman suit had no sleeves. So I think I would have liked to have worn a long sleeved gray shirt if I could. But I don't know if that was really like an option for me at the time. I probably just wore whatever my mom put me into. So, and a lot of these figures, like I said, they'll have like the sleeveless. For whatever reason, Batman does not have sleeveless. Maybe that was something that DC Comics insisted on for whatever reason. But you can see like Joker and Batgirl and Wonder Woman all have sleeveless outfits, but Superman and Batman both have long sleeves. I don't know why that is. Oh, and here, normally NECA is really creative about like the inside of their packages, but you can see this is just a plain blue liner in there. Nothing too interesting about it, but it does match up with the blue of his cape. So maybe the intention was that they wanted it to look like the cape in the back of the costume. So what I'm going to do, because I don't want to break his arms, is I'm going to kind of pull the suit off of him a little bit. I'm not going to take it off all the way, but I just want to make sure that I've got these arms lined up, because I want to put a little bit of a bend into his arms. And I don't want to bend them the wrong way, because I don't want to break it. So just enough so I can get a little bit of bend into his arms. And we're not going to go too deeply into the articulation on this guy, but he's got some pretty good articulation. But the problem is since he's wearing this suit, it's going to get in the way of said articulation, isn't it? So, but I do want to have, like I said, just a slight bend in his arms for my own display purposes. And that'll help me keep track of it. But he's got good articulation under there. I'm just, like I said, I'm just not going to get too into the weeds on it because I don't want to take off the whole suit, basically. But I did get that little bit of bend to his arms, so that's good. That's what I wanted to get. And like I said, the package says costume and mask, but this mask does not appear to be removable at all. You can see his eyes through the mask, like it's a separate piece. And I kind of wonder like how much of this kid's face is sculpted underneath there, but it's not removable. You can see he's got the rubber band holding the mask to his face. Anybody who's a fan of the Venture Brothers, and I know I'm a fan of the Venture Brothers, probably this suit looks kind of familiar to you, because it's also the suit that was worn by Hank Venture whenever he becomes the Bat. This is the suit that he wears. And you can see it's got the Batman emblem printed on the chest, a little too large, and it says Batman across the front of it. And he's also got a Batman symbol on his forehead that has Batman written across it. So when I was a kid and I first wore this costume, I'm like, Mom, why does it say Batman across his chest? And she said, well, that's so everybody knows that you're Batman. And I'm like, won't they know I'm Batman when they notice I'm dressed like Batman? Come on. Like, Rouge Hans is here and says hello right back at you. So the head does turn all the way around. It's kind of ball jointed, so you can tilt it quizzically from side to side. It looks up about that far, looks down about that far. Of course, like I said, like he's got really good articulation, but I'm just not going to get too into it because of the way the suit is put together. I'm not going to be able to get full range of motion out of it just because the suit's going to kind of get in the way. But he's not wearing any socks either, our little guy. So yeah, the emblem is pretty accurate to how I remember that one being on the original suit. They changed it a little later and updated it so it looked a little more like the logo perfect Batman emblem, but it still said Batman across it, but now it was in the lettering that they used on the actual comic book logo. Rouge Hunt says, good news, Halloween is tomorrow. I want to be shocked now. Well, yeah, I was like I love Halloween, which is why I was really getting into doing all the episodes this month. And we got something really cool for the next episode, so make sure you don't miss that one. Now, one difference that I noticed also is that his cape is a fabric cape. This is cloth. This is not vinyl. And of course, the original Ben Cooper Batman costume, the cape was the same sort of vinyl as the rest of it. In fact, the lower legs, it was the same kind of vinyl that was used to replicate the boot tops. This belt is not quite as accurate to the original costume because actually the belt had a black buckle, not like this one's got a yellow buckle with black outline, but it was just black. Jose Membrane says, keep the shocker up. And Rouge Hunt says, I'm going to see the shock on your face. There you go. But I do really appreciate a lot of the effort. MHD is here. Hi, MHD. He says hi. So I do appreciate a lot of the effort that went into making this look like the older costume, even though, like I said, there are a few differences. MHD says he's a very cool little guy. Yeah, it's almost like a little mini Alan Belk back in 1979 when he first wore this outfit. Jose Membrane gives the Vulcan salute. So yeah, that would be another group of characters I think would be really cool to see Ben Cooper do is Star Trek. I'm sorry, NECA to do in the Ben Cooper style. And of course, Star Trek is one of the few licenses that both Ben Cooper and Collegeville had at various points. And I gotta say, even as like a hardcore Ben Cooper guy who prefers Ben Cooper over Collegeville for the most part, it breaks my heart to say it, that Mr. Spock mask that Collegeville did was way better than Ben Cooper's Mr. Spock mask. Shh. But it's true. It's true. But Collegeville never had the rights to Batman. And, he just look how much he's enjoying wearing this Batman outfit and running around in it and jumping off of things. And you'll see that the cape is held on by a yellow ribbon that ties around his neck. And likewise, the original Ben Cooper Batman suit had a yellow plastic tie that tied the vinyl cape around the neck. Why yellow instead of blue to match the rest of the cape? I have no idea. Maybe just the yellow trim was cheaper. They already had a ton of it. Jose Membry says, Leonard Nimoy memories. Yeah, something you guys might not know is my birthday is on March 26th, same day as Leonard Nimoy. So I always felt a little bit of a kinship with Spock, that we were both born on the same day. I just thought that was really cool. So he does come with an accessory, which I have not talked about yet, and it is a really super cool accessory. I just think this is so freaking awesome. So he's going trick-or-treating, right? So he's got to have something to put his candy in, not just a regular trick-or-treat bag. It's a Super Friends pillowcase, and this is an accurate depiction of the Super Friends pillowcase that was actually made back in the 1970s. So you can imagine this kid actually had the Super Friends bedsheet set and took the pillowcase to take it trick-or-treating with him. Now, the main difference between this And the actual pillowcase, other than the size, obviously, unless you just got a really tiny pillow, is that you can see on both sides it has this Super Friends image, but the actual pillowcase had two different pictures, and on the other side it was the villains. So you had good guys on one side and bad guys on the other. But I guess since this is made for a heroic character like Batman, they just have the Super Friends on either side. And let's go through the characters here. We got Wonder Dog, we got Flash, we got Aquaman, we got Robin, we got Batman, we got Superman, we got Wonder Woman, we got Green Lantern, we got Hawkman, we got Wendy and Marvin. So Jose Memory says, Alan, don't tell me that it comes with tiny bed sheets. Nope, just the pillowcase. Maybe Mom wouldn't let him take the whole set with him. But yeah, it's just the pillowcase. And interestingly enough, there actually is a wire inside here, so you can actually kind of pose it a little bit and have the kid. It'll look good when we have the kid opening it up for his tricks or treats. So we can fit the wire into his hand there. How well is he going to hold on to it once I let go? Pretty decently. Decently enough that I figure if you have him on his shelf holding it, it's going to work out just fine. Of course, you could, if you wanted to, put the hand at where the seam of the fabric is, and then he's got something a little more substantial to hold on to. Let me see if I can get it in there good. Oh, not quite. Kind of try to pinch that in between his thumb and his forefinger. But yeah, he's got a pillowcase to use as a little trick or treat bag, and that's pretty awesome. So he's out doing his tricks or treats, and happens to stop by Wayne Manor, and he sees this guy dressed as Batman too. Wow, that's a great costume you have there, citizen. Here, have some Reese's peanut butter cups. Isn't that nice? He's a little out of scale. I think probably the multiverse figure would be a little more in scale, but I just happen to have him handy. Or, if you prefer something a little later, nicely done. Or something a little more sinister, nice outfit. Yeah. So, you can have a lot of fun with this figure. And of course, like I said, they did do the Joker also and Batgirl. Jose Membrane says, I did have the Super Friends twin bed set as a kid. So cool. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, like my cousin had bought me, she found the pillowcase at a thrift store or something like that and sent that to me as a birthday present one year. Anyway, these figures are pretty awesome, and I really like them. Obviously, this is kind of a niche thing, and for those of you out there who are my age, like it'd probably appeal to you more than like any of my younger viewers. Probably some of the older viewers, like I said, they had the Ben Cooper costumes in the 1960s too. So, people my parents' age, and then even in the 50s earlier. I think the first Ben Cooper costumes that they did were Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, and that was like way long ago. But like I said, they were doing Superman costumes in the 50s, so they'd been doing them for a while. Now, I saw these at my local Target. That's where I bought them at. And I'd seen them at the Target over by my mom's house. And when they first got those in, they got like a ton of them in. And I figured they'd never sell through all these things, but they did run through them. Rouge Hans asked, do you like memes? Yes, I like memes very much. I use them myself. But they did manage to actually sell through all of those at the Target near my mom's house, and I was pleasantly surprised because, like I said, I kind of feel like this is a niche item, and they only had a few left at my local Target. Jose Membrane says, your videos bring me back. Don't they, though? They bring me back. Hell. But yeah, at the Target by my house, they still had Batman, which was the main one I wanted, and they still have the Joker, which the Joker actually was one that was produced in 1989. That was probably one of the last characters that, I think it was the last character that Ben Cooper introduced into their DC line. They don't have Superman, they don't have Batgirl, but they do have Batman, Joker, and Wonder Woman. And I would really like to get all of these. So hopefully they'll get re-released at some point, because I definitely want to try to get the whole set. I kind of drug my feet on them a little bit, even though I thought they were really cool, just because they had so many of them. But they sold out pretty quick, so I was mistaken to do that. But yeah, these are really nice. You notice there were a few more characters they could do in this line. Like they did Aquaman, they did Green Lantern, and they did the Flash in the 1960s. But I think they'd stopped making them by the time by the time that I was of age to be interested in these costumes. Like, for whatever reason, I guess they didn't sell as well as Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman, so they kind of stopped doing Green Lantern, Flash, and Aquaman, unfortunately. But Batgirl, I guess, must have sold well because she was still hanging around. But you notice one character that's missing from that list is Robin. They never did. It surprises me that Ben Cooper never did a costume of Robin, which you would have thought would have been obvious to do in the height of Batmania. But hell, like I said, they didn't even get around to doing the Joker until 1989. And even then, I kind of think that was because they knew that they had a Batman movie coming out with Jack Nicholson playing the Joker. So we better get the jump on that. So they had that out in October of 1989? I think it was 1989. The movie definitely came out in 1989, but they had the costume ready for 1989. It might have been like 1988, but you know, that's the Batman movie is the main reason they had the Joker going. And you can see that like it's not really made to look like Jack Nicholson at all. It's definitely the comic book Joker. And the funny thing is, if you look at the picture on the suit, that's definitely a Jose Luis Garcia Lopez Joker, but the mask seems a little more based off of Brian Bolland's Joker from The Killing Joke, which is not a comic book that children should be reading. That is a mature reader comic book, if I've ever read one. There's not many Batman comics that I would say, don't let your kids read it, but don't let your kids read that one. And don't let them read Arkham Asylum. I love Arkham Asylum, but that is not a book for kids at all. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put this guy back in his box now that we've had a look at it, because like I said, I kind of feel like this is a figure that will work a lot better as a full display piece, like within the box. The box is an important part of the presentation of it. So I'm gonna put the pillowcase back in there and put the little silica gel thing back in there, and I'm gonna very carefully put the cape back through the hole in the package. Pop his head into this bubble, and that will be how we display our Batman, and make sure that his arms are in such a way where they're not gonna. I still want to keep that slight bend to them so I know where they're supposed to bend, but just a slight bend so it can still go back in the package. But yeah, he's got to have that Halloween costume box. Like, I tend to keep NECA boxes for the most part. And I tend to throw out most boxes, but NECA boxes are so great. I always want to hold on to them. And like I said, I think he's going to display better this way. I prefer to have him still in the box. The box is a big part of the appeal to me with this. Because like I said, it reminds me so much of those boxes that the costumes came in when I was a kid, even having the names kind of stamped on. They even made this one kind of crooked, you see. But yeah, beautiful piece by NECA. Obviously, this was made with a lot of love, and I would like to get the rest of these. And of course, they've been doing like lots of different. They've done like monsters, and they've even made some original designs of characters that Ben Cooper never made or never would have made back in the day. Like they've got slasher movie characters like Michael Myers and Leatherface, and I mean, they did make like Alien, to be fair. I'm pretty sure somebody made a Freddy Krueger costume in this style, but I think that was probably more of a Collegeville thing. I could be mistaken about that. But as a kid who actually wore this Batman suit with pride and had a ball wearing this thing. You know, I gotta say, for me personally, this is probably one of the most important versions of Batman that exists. And it might sound kind of weird to somebody who wasn't there at the time, but trust me, this is one of my guys here. So anyway, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back with one more Halloween episode because tomorrow's Halloween, isn't it? And I've got something special in mind for Halloween. And then I think we're going to get on to opening some of these Ninja Turtle figures that I've been meaning to open for a while. So I think that'll be that'll be a good time to do that. So if you want to make sure you don't miss that episode or any of the Ninja Turtles episodes that I got coming up, which honestly is mostly Shredder figures. I don't think I have any of the actual Ninja Turtles themselves, but I have mostly Shredder and Casey Jones. But if you want to make sure you don't miss it, make sure you like, subscribe, all the fun YouTube stuff down below. I just realized I'm going to have to take him out of the package again because I want to take the thumbnail. Oh, well. But I'll put him back in there again. It'll be fine. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this figure and Batman in general and Ben Cooper Halloween costumes in general. If you were somebody that was my age, I'm sure you remember having these vinyl things and some of the pros and cons of having these type of costumes. Kids these days, I think, are kind of spoiled by having costumes that are much more realistic and much more sturdy than what we had. And good for them that they've got those. But like I said, us Generation X age kids, we definitely remember these Ben Cooper costumes and we love them. Thanks for stopping by, MHD, Jose Membrane, Rouge Haunts. We had a fun chat, and I'll be back on the next episode with something else very cool. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.